equitable with those resources and making sure that it's not prioritizing individuals, but it's providing the student needs, and trying to do that, and being very transparent with that also, because I think sometimes if budgets live in this box that nobody knows what's really going on, that can then cause a lot of distrust within any organization. And so I think just being very transparent with this is what we have, this is what we're doing with it, this is why we're doing with it, and providing opportunities for people to have disagreements. I think also just being there for people, just checking in on people. You know, like we all enjoy having somebody maybe just say, hello, how are you doing today? You know, especially when you have a rough day. I mean, like we talked about just like a high five from somebody. Just somebody saying hello can sometimes just make you feel like things are going to be all right. And you don't always know because they're not going to reach out, but I think just being open and being there for people allows some type of support.
What are the joyful parts for you?
You're asking really good questions because my wife was just asking these just the other day. I mean, truly everything as of right now. And I know that there are going to be moments that are going to come that are not, but I think even in those moments, we have such an amazing team, or I believe we have such an amazing team that we know we're going to get through those. There's never going to be a year that's going to go by that we're not going to have something that's going to happen, or then there's not going to be disagreements. But I think being able to go home at night and truly believe that we're trying to do the best to serve the students at Madison in our community, that's the most beautiful part.
What are some likes and dislikes of being a principal?
I dislike meetings that don't have a purpose.
Then why do you go to them?
Have to. So I think part of the challenge has been trying to find a way in those meetings to either walk away and figure out how do we make this have a purpose, or to be more vocal within those meetings to try to steer it in a direction that has a purpose. I will say that as a new principal, that's finding some balance, because those meetings usually don't happen here in this building. Those are meetings that are taking place outside of this building that are district-wide. And I think just trying to find that voice and making sure that we're advocating for our community. What was the dislikes and the likes of it? I like everything else about this job so far. I love the students, I love the community, I love our staff. And that word love people throw out quite a bit. I think that I really would say that I do. I mean, I've had opportunities to do other things. I've had opportunities since I've been here to go other places.
Like what?
And I've turned them flat down. Those I won't share. But I will say, I have routinely said, I enjoy doing it. And I've grown to really be able to sit down in an interview. Probably the most proud of it, when we interview people, it's when they ask us, what do you enjoy about Madison? And I can say with all certainty, students and staff, this is an amazing place. And they would be very fortunate to come and work here. We also try to make sure we do a really good job, make sure that we keep that. And so that we're hiring the people that are going to continue to keep that kind of culture, which can be challenging for multiple reasons at times.
Why did you switch from history to ag?
Again, that goes back to, so I think I'll go back and say, I think I sold myself short when I became an educator. Because I didn't have the confidence in my abilities. I was not, you would have never seen me, you know, somebody, people keep going back to saying, Skyles, you were a teacher. And so I think when we sat down and figured out what I was, when I say we, because I did it for my little sister, what are you going to get your endorsement in? I enjoyed history, I'd always done well in history, and so I chose what I figured I would just kind of do well at, instead of really sitting down and figuring out what would I really enjoy. I chose that path based off of what I thought I would succeed in. Going back, I would have sat down and actually figured, like, what would I really enjoy being a part of? Does that answer that question?
What kind of schooling did you have to complete to become a vice principal and then eventually principal?
So I have a bachelor's in education with a minor's in social studies. So that allowed me to get my teaching endorsement. I was a certified teacher I could teach K through 12 PE. So I also received a PE endorsement. I got that to be because of the coaching hours that I had put in over the years. And this was before they changed the licensure requirements, so it's different now. So I had the bachelor's in education, social studies endorsement. I got licensed to be able to teach social studies 6 through 12. And then I could also teach, like again, K through 12 PE. And then I got my master's in education from Grand Canyon University. I I did an online program for my master's because at the time, I was coming up with TSBC's clock and they said you have to get your master's. We had decided to go with a master's in administration. I was teaching full-time, coaching, was a head football coach at the time, and I had just had my third daughter, and so she was newborn. And so my wife and I sat down and said, like, there's no way that I can be at a Tuesday Concordia or Tuesday PSU meeting every Tuesday to meet with a group. I'm gonna have to do this at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning. And so we went online and found an online program at Grand Canyon University.
Is that what you had to do? Those were your hours for getting your master's done?
I would get home from, football season was the worst, but yeah, 'cause you were stuck, it was an 18-month program, and if you know anything about me, I don't like to waste time on things. So I could have pushed it longer, but we didn't. So the program allowed me to have a break I had a week off during winter break, and for 18 months that was it. And again, that was I chose that, to just go. And so yeah, we'd get done with football at 9 o'clock at night, go home, eat dinner, and then you'd have your couple of hours a night of work. And then Saturdays and Sundays you were at youth football games with the kids, or planning for the next game, or trying to stay up on your teaching, or planning. I was very fortunate. Miss Alonzo was a colleague of mine, and her and I were doing a lot of team teaching at the time, so she was a huge support during that process also.
Well, here's how Miss Alonzo looks like. You know how organized she is.
Miss Alonzo was very organized.
How does your day start at Madison?
So I try to get here, Mondays and Fridays are slightly different because my wife is off, so I try to get here a little bit earlier on those days. But on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I have the kids because my wife's a nurse, so she's out the door before 6 for her shifts. So we get the kids to whoever's watching them that day, try to get in by 7:30, from 7:30 to 8, work on the things that are trying to happen today, or trying to not stay up as late or to get up as early and do something, trying to 7:30 to 8, be on a computer, checking with Jessica, checking with staff, see where we're at. From 8 to 8:30, try to be out in the halls. Try to hold that up until 9, but that always doesn't hold, but we try to stay out and be able to actually pop into a few classrooms. So from 8 to 9, try to do that. And then from 9 until 3, it's usually a lot of meetings. I looked on my calendar, I would tell you, I think Mondays and Wednesdays we block out a little bit of time that, again, try to get into more classrooms and try to hold those times. Thursdays seem like a pretty heavy day that I'm out of the building twice a week. I'm for sure I'm out of this building. Every other third, there's like a third Thursday every once in a while that I end up having to be out of the building for meetings. And we try to avoid any other meetings outside of the building on any other days and just to decline them if I can.
Yeah, I'll say, I know a lot of us, we all thought you were the principal last year because we had no idea there was another principal because you were always the one out of the hallway.
It's a different job, I would say. Vice principal, you're in the hallways a lot more, you're out, you have the ability to be out, you're dealing with a lot more. You're running the building. This position, I would say, you're more managing the building, and you have to be in a lot more of those meetings. And so, unfortunately, there will be times where those things, I won't be able to get out. We're trying real hard to make sure that doesn't happen. That I am at least out and visible and present. I enjoy going to games. So we were at Franklin last night. We took my 3 little daughters, and we got to watch the Franklin extravaganza, part of the boys soccer game, volleyball, part of the girls game. It got late, so we had to leave at halftime because they have school in the morning. But just try to be out as much as possible.
How do you prioritize being at Madison?
What do you mean by that?
Not being away from the building.
Oh, Jessica and I, we worked really hard to block things, and we told her to block things. I would also say this, I think the district leadership has shifted over the years, and that they will now come to us for a lot of meetings that they think they pull people out. So when there are these district meetings, they do a much better job of coming to us. So that way, instead of us, if I have to go down to BSC for a meeting, for an hour meeting, that's a half hour down there, half hour back. So I'm not 2 hours, instead of the hour that if they just came to us. And so I think they're really trying to respect that time a little bit more, and instead of having us come for the 2, you come to us. So there's more teams of people. It'll be a little comical because there'll be 7 or 8 or 9 people that will walk in for a meeting. That I could have, one person could have traveled, but now they all have to travel. But I respect that they're trying to make sure that they respect the part of us being in buildings.
Do you guys know that building that Skyles just referenced, the BESC?
No.
That's the district headquarters. And so every right by the middle center, 51 Dixon.
Oh, yes, I've been there. Yeah, I had my sports meetings.
By Tubman, no, not Tubman, the middle school, Tubman.
Tubman.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where all the district offices. HR's down there, payroll is down there. My bosses, their offices down, superintendent's bosses, or not boss, but superintendent's down there. Actually, there's boss, the school board's offices are down there, security services. Everything that does not operate directly out of a school is down there.
What are the different disciplinary acts you have to perform? Punishment, discipline, teacher controversy.
So as a principal, I would say you kind of become more removed. So when I was a dean of students, it was everything. Student-wise, everything student discipline. As a vice principal, as a dean, you just did students because you were still a PAT member. So you would never, I was never involved in any teacher issues at all. As a vice principal, still oversaw all major student discipline. So there has to be a hearing for any purposes. You have to have an administrator there. And we still did quite a bit, as I did as a vice principal. As a principal, I don't do anything with student discipline anymore. I am aware, and they give me reports, and so we run reports weekly. They keep me up to date. If there's conflict between students in the building, I will still want to know, so they tell me what's going on. But if there was let's say a fight, I'm not in, unless they're gone. Then I'll jump in, but as long as our deans and admin are here, they just kind of let me know. And then if there are staff situations, then I'll be involved directly. Any community situations, I'm involved directly.
I think that's confusing for folks. I think the assumption is that principals know every disciplinary action. I've seen some little nods in the room, but I don't know how you communicate that nuance to students, and
That they don't.
that a principal isn't aware of every micro moment.
You're not, and yes, I think that's one of the biggest things you have to give. As a vice principal, I would say that you're running the building as a vice principal, so you are here constantly. Facilities, elevator breaks. There's a spill. You're aware of all of these logistical things. Any fight that takes place, any conflict that takes place, any student that's just having a rough day, you probably are aware of. And where I'm at now, that you're not, because I have to be in a meeting, and so they have a little bit more flexibility. I still want to know, and so they try to report those bigger things back. It's like I said, so we have weekly meetings a couple times a week. They also will just shoot me text saying, hey, so-and-so happened, we're on it, just so I'm aware. But made that answer the question? Okay.
What do teacher evaluations look like?
I'm going to give you my very honest opinion. I do not choose my word carefully.
Turn it off.
No, you're okay for this one. Because I have told the district, I've told you the teachers, I am not a fan of our teachers. I'm not a fan of our evaluation system for any teacher, not just teachers, in this district. We receive training on one component, but then the component when we actually go to do the evaluation looks vastly different. There are national models out there that are proven to be effective to providing feedback, but then yet we've tweaked those. And so that you can't, if you can receive coaching, you can go out and become an expert into this, but then this model that PPS uses it's nuanced in different ways. And you would think that it wouldn't make a huge deal, but just slight little changes within things impact your ability to provide feedback. It also, in my opinion, is extremely hard to provide the feedback that I think our teachers are open to and want, because there's a ton of just like checkboxes. And then did you have evidence for this checkbox? Well, there's not this flexibility to sit down and have a conversation and actually really provide support, in my opinion, that I think would be more advantageous. I think we would do better if we had a more fluid system. But I also do recognize that those evaluations can and do at times lead to teachers being removed from their positions, and so there has to be concrete structure and consistency within those structures. And that becomes a lot more of an HR, a legal, and a union piece around that. Because once you do come to a point where, let's say, a teacher is going to be removed for not because they've done something that's against the law,